please help me welcome to the stage Glenn Close. The first time I ever saw you and fell in love with you watching you knit on stage in Barnum.
In Barnum? Were you 10 years old?
No, my mother told me about it in utero, so I had to learn it. But it was an amazing thing, and I guess what I was really struck by was the way you occupied the stage there.
I got cast in my first movie, The World According to Garp, from that play. Well, I never had any formal training. I went to the College of William and Mary, and they had a fantastic theater department, but it wasn't it wasn't a formal acting school. I always had known that I wanted to be actress from a very early age, so I was a freshman, I was 22, and I walked into the theater department and I auditioned for Twelfth Night, and I got cast as Olivia, and that was the beginning. And I had a wonderful mentor there, Harold Scammon. He came up to me once, he said, "Just remember, you're a big fish in a very little pond." You know, even as bad as I was at auditioning, every now and then there'd come a time where I felt that I really was good, and I was as good as I could be in that moment, and then it didn't matter whether I got cast or not, because I knew I'd given my best, and maybe it wasn't what they wanted. I felt that way after we finished Albert. I think it is the movie that we wanted to make. I think everybody gave their best. It was an extraordinary team. And for us, you know, for anyone who's creating anything, the process is where you get your great joy, you know, arriving every day and creating something with an amazing group of people. That's what you live for. Now, I'm fascinated by behavior. You know, I love riding the bus and the subway in New York, just so you can watch people. You know, I love that. I love characters where you have to kind of figure out the why of their behavior. And I love scripts that don't just, you know, kind of have it all there. You know, that they're mysteries that have to be filled in and secrets that have to be kind of explored. And I find that interesting. And I think one of the reasons why I hope Albert Nobbs might kind of have resonance is that I think all of us, I mean that line, we're all disguised as ourselves. I think all of us put on, you know, we have our public face, and we have, you know, it's very hard to sometimes know what really is, most of the time, what's really going on in somebody else, you know? We're masters at it. Disney had such a huge influence on me when I was little. When I was asked to play Cruella, I was thrilled because she's a witch. She's one of the great witches. And I learned very fast that the meaner I was, the funnier it was, the better it was. You know, the more scary it was, that's how she should be. And if you go back to the original cartoon, which we stole lines from, she says, "Chloroform them, drown them." I mean, she's horrible. You know, so I loved it. I just loved it. I thought I was, you know, becoming part of that great tradition. I love Cruella.
Okay. Well, what did your daughter think when she saw it?
Can't you be the nice one? It was an incredible moment. A great friend of my grandmother Moore's, who was my mom's mom, who should have been an actress. Her name was Helen Lynch, and she was in her late 80s. My grandmother had been dead for a number of years, and she came over to visit me, and I set 2 chairs out on the lawn, and she settled down, and she said, "Oh, your grandmother, did you know that all she ever wanted to be was an actress?" I didn't know that, you know.
Wow.
But, I remember meeting a woman at in the Greenwich train station, and we talked, again, one of those wonderful women that, older woman, and she found out who I was, and she said, "Oh, I knew your grandmother, Betty Moore. She knew how to enter a room." And my grandmother, there's this wonderful portrait of her that I now have in my bedroom, and I remember standing in front of it with her, and she said, "Oh, I knew what side my bread was buttered on."
I think we've unlocked the key to Glenn Close here.
I think it's really healthy to be scared. I think if you don't do things that are scary, you might tend to get complacent. And I think I test myself periodically by doing something that really scares me.
Well, I'm so glad you did this, Glenn. Thank you so much. Glenn Close.